play snooker pot balls. I love the game, but you know, to share it with the fans here in Preston and any snooker fan, you know, because there's snooker fans all over the world. So Preston's just lucky that it was here tonight. But I would like to sort of, you know, everywhere I go to play or everywhere we go to play, snooker fans all around the world support our sport, and it's done for every snooker player in the whole world. So that's a great pleasure for me.
Well, it was a great pleasure. I speak on behalf of every single person here and every single person watching. Congratulations on the history, 1,000 centuries, and the Coral Players Champion of 2019, Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, collecting the trophy, prize money of £125,000 and the title of 2019 Coral Players Championship winner, the history-making, the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan!
A kiss on the trophy for the 2019 Coral Players Championship alongside Stephen, Andrew, Neil and Alan. Well, he has just thrilled everybody in the way that only Ronnie O'Sullivan can do it.
Yeah, that last frame was just like it was a frame down the club. He knocked in the first red, and it was just, I knew exactly what he was going to do. He was going to clear the table. It just looked like it was written in the stars. It was just going to happen, and it was just that last break. It was so ridiculous. It made it so ridiculously easy. It was incredible.
And I guess that's it, Neil.
Yeah.
It was so easy, but we all felt the tension watching it.
Yeah, but that's the way he's always made the game look. He's always made the game look easy since the first time I saw him play. You know, great player. Wonderful moment. And I think if you could pick a moment to do it, it would be in the frame to win a big title like this. You know, probably the World Championship final would have been second only, but what an occasion this felt. You know, it felt really brilliant. The crowd were cheering. It was a bit like being back at the shootout at the end. Every shot when it went in, the crowd were allowed to enjoy it. And I tell you what, a lot of very happy people here tonight who will go home and, like you said, you know, and they'll remember this moment forever.
Alan, there's an amazing, overwhelming sense of I'm lucky to be here in that audience out there. Everybody is just besides themselves with excitement, but also appreciation for the guy that they're watching.
Yeah, I'm glad it happened tonight, and especially in the last frame. The crowd deserve it. Preston deserves it, and the Guildhall does. And I've seen a lot of great things in this game, but see that tonight, it was cooler than rock and roll. That's what it was. I was... You know, my heart was pounding in the comm box when he almost did it before, and it was just the coolest thing I've seen in a long time.
How do you sort of put into context, if you try to compare to other sports, you know, what 1,000 centuries means?
I don't know, because it's not like obviously holes in 1 or 9. That's like a maximum breaks, things like that. But I kind of like, I don't know, something like golf. Maybe you shoot 61 or 62. You've done that 1,000 times, or something like that. It's very difficult to put in context with other sports, but you go back to like sports personality and these types of things. You see the people that win these awards. There's no way they're more talented than this guy. No way.
Absolutely right. We're going to take a break here in Preston, and all the analysis of the history maker Ronnie O'Sullivan's victory over Neil Robertson in the Players' Championship Final. This is a moment that we'll never forget. We talked earlier on about how well he played tonight, but to do what he did in the last frame and winning it and making the record, there's a little bit of stardust that he sprinkled on that final tonight that he has been sprinkling over this sport his whole career.
Yeah, he's done that so often to close out a final with a century break or a total clearance. That's his sort of signature thing to do, really. It's
pretty special.
So yeah, so tonight it was just that little bit added spice to it, maybe for the 1,000. But it's just the atmosphere in the whole place. It was in the commentary box, and it's just like the intensity was just growing and growing and growing. It was just phenomenal.
You could feel it everywhere in this entire auditorium. Everyone knew what was happening, and it was relentless.
Yeah, and I think that you look at entertaining players, you know, like Jimmy White, the People's Champion, Alex Higgins was the same, and obviously Ronnie O'Sullivan. There's others as well, I should say, along the way, but they have never done it boring. You know, Ronnie has always been a joy to watch play snooker. There's no question about that. He's never won ugly. You know, he's always been great to see, and even snooker players at venues crowd around the television in the players and watching O'Sullivan play. You know, that's the kind of impact he has on the game.
Alan, the impact that he's had on the game obviously has now been nearly 3 decades. What does snooker mean to Ronnie O'Sullivan, and what does Ronnie O'Sullivan mean to snooker?
Well, I think it's obviously in his blood. He said, you know, since he's been playing since, what, 6 or 7. Something that struck me about the way he played tonight, and he's done it so often, a lot of sports people or sports teams kind of play and they want to win and get a performance second. He's almost the other way around. He just wants to perform and show the crowd what he can do and mesmerise everyone. And with that, obviously, results and victories and trophies will come. And that's what struck me. It's just the way he does it. There's a simplicity about the way he does it that I can't get my head round, quite honestly.
I would say that in the last maybe 5, 7 years, maybe that's even more the case. But now he's become like a winner as well, hasn't he? Not only an entertainer.
Yeah.
You know, he started. You know, I mean, there was a time, Stephen, if you remember early on, we all knew how talented he was, but people thought he'd never notch up these big numbers of World Championships, UK and Masters. Because he's a bit of an underachiever, but now he's putting numbers to that, Hendry-esque numbers to it all. You know. So it's changed. Something's changed, isn't it, in the last few years?
Well, I wanted to ask about, just picking up on what Alan said about the way he played. When you were dominating the game, Stephen, did you play to win and then performance was secondary?
It's hard to say how I played to win, but I was still not happy if I didn't perform. But for me, the winning was the important thing. It's one of the reasons I retired earlier than maybe I could have, because I enjoyed winning, and when I couldn't win anymore, I didn't enjoy it. But yeah, Ronnie obviously clearly has gone more that way, I think.
Yeah.
I think before, I mean, obviously matches go back to matches when I was 4-1 up and he walked out.
Yeah.
You know, that's things of the past. I mean, now he's just a winning animal now. It's just
They were the dark days, weren't they? Which are long, you know, since gone now. You know, and I would argue that with Stephen, you know, people sometimes used to want to see him lose in the audience, not see him win like O'Sullivan, because he was such a prolific winner and he dominated the game. Davis was the same. But with Ronnie, that's never been quite the case, because he was never that great winner at the beginning. He was a little bit of an underachiever, if that's ever possible for me to say. He didn't quite live up to the ridiculously big talent. Now he's winning as well. He's got it all, hasn't he?
And Stephen made a good point in commentary about his break building. It has changed. Myself and Neil sat here and we thought, that's exactly what it is. He's hit the nail on the head. He picks them off rather than go in, you know, off top side of blue and all these things. He just picks them off, picks and chooses his moments.
That was evident in his final frame, in the frame where he brought up the record.
Because he's that good at playing cannons and going into the bunch. He knows he hits the exact red that he wants to hit. You know, you see players and they just blindly go into the pack as hard as they can and hope they're going to be in one. That's not the case with Ronnie. Ronnie knows exactly what red he wants to hit when he goes into the pack, and that red will release another 2 or 3 reds. It's just it's genius break building, and there's no one in the world like him.
When he slid past that red and wasn't snookered on the pink, you know, he had to do it here. I'm glad there was no messing around, actually, because it would not have been the right thing to do, and the crowd would have been deprived of something amazing, and they weren't, actually. And you know, in the end, the common sense prevailed, and the genius that he is.
He dropped his cue there. Imagine he made a foul.
I was worried about that myself when he changed hands near the crowd.
And then the next few shots. I mean, you know, we've seen snooker all our lives, us guys. You know, probably seen too much of it actually. But the fact is, this was different again to what I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, people talk about there's no, you know, myself. I don't see any young kids coming through in the UK with snooker. If this doesn't inspire people to take up the game, I don't know what would.
I don't know if you know what that was all about at the end there. It may have gone unnoticed, but when he went off, it deprived him of the high break for the tournament, which Robertson held of 140. That would have been 141, but it went off the black. Yeah. So Robertson has trousered $5,000 there, and that's what that big laugh was about. It wasn't, oh, look, fantastic. I wondered at the time, but yeah. But I don't think he's that bothered. But that cue ball going in has got Robertson put $5,000 in the coffers for
Every
him.
cloud has a silver lining. A $5,000 silver lining in the case of Neil Robertson. Alan, one thing Neil Robertson said down when we spoke to him earlier on, he said, didn't really matter what he did tonight. It was Ronnie O'Sullivan versus the table.
It was largely a bystander. There's nothing he could do, and he played good. He played as well as he probably can play. He just wasn't given the freedom or the chances to show what he could do. Ronnie was just all over him from start to finish.
It's quite a tribute to a fellow professional when they say something like that, especially a professional like Neil Robertson, the standing that he's at within the game.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it was an amazing performance, and Robertson knew the situation there. What I will say is, I've been seeing a lot of Ronnie O'Sullivan recently. You know, he was at the shootout working on that tournament. He wasn't playing in it, but he was in that practice room as many hours as he could. So he works very hard at his game. You must never underestimate. He doesn't just got this gift, turn up and play great. He has to work at it.
That's a very good point, because I think a lot of people see the way he plays and kind of potentially assumes that he's got that carefree attitude both away from the main focus of attention and behind closed doors.
Yeah, I think, and it's the same with every sport. All the greats of every sport, they've always, you know, talent isn't enough on its own. You've got to put the hours in, and that's where you get that ultimate sharpness from is all those hours. And obviously he's got this new technique that you know, with sight right this season that he's working on as well. So he's constantly looking to improve, which is depressing for the rest.
Yes. The one thing that he didn't do tonight was the Aussie accent, which I was a bit surprised by. But that sort of distracted things away. But like we kept saying all along, he's not distracted when he gets on the table, but he can sort of take the focus away from him with what he's...
He did everything right today. He played brilliantly. He was very respectful in the interview, said all the right things about his opponent and the audience. He did everything right. Everything.
He did do everything right, but he did